Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the Week 4 slate in a game that we've had circled since the summer. Ohio State heading on the road to play Notre Dame. Dill, in terms of college football playoff ramifications, in terms of national championship ramifications, this is an absolutely massive one. I mean, Sam Hartman has revolutionized this Notre Dame offense, a legit contender on the national stage. And then Ohio State, like you saw the fans kind of melting down after the first couple of weeks. Who's going to be our quarterback? Our offense is struggling. Like Ohio State, we kind of knew they kind of hit their stride. Colin McCord looks very, very good against Western Kentucky. Excited to get into this one. A lot of kind of key matchups I want to dig into. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support that you guys have shown for these game previews has been overwhelming. Like truly, absolutely awesome. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, like the best part about doing this, talking ball with you guys. So let us know your game predictions, some of your keys to the games that we're going to get into. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys like you guys have. Dale, I'm going to kick this one off to you. Buckeyes heading to Notre Dame. How are we feeling here?
Yeah, I mean, this is like last time they played last year, you just kind of didn't feel like Notre Dame had a chance because the quarterback play was so bad. And Notre Dame fought, and they hung around, and they did what they could. But when you have what they had last year at that spot, you just can't do it. And this year now, if you're Notre Dame, I think you go in with a legitimate, like, well, we can win this game because we have a quarterback finally who, when you need a third and long or something, like you have a guy who at least gives you a chance to make the plays.
And he like opens up the offense way more. Like they could not push the ball downfield. Notre Dame's passing attack last year was like Michael Mayer over the middle, and that's about it. Like all of a sudden, the Notre Dame wide receivers are all kind of considered like good now that Sam Hartman's getting the football. Sam Hartman's revolutionized this offense. Obviously, they play in really good defense. Still, I want to start with the Ohio State offense, the talking point for all Ohio State fans. Going up against the Notre Dame defense, that can test them. And I'm going to start with this. My question was never the quarterback position. Like even during fall camp, when like nobody really emerged, like Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, like with Ryan Day calling the plays, throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr., Mecca Buka, Julian Fleming with Henderson in the backfield, like you knew the quarterback play was going to come. Kyle McCord's the guy. That being said, my bigger question mark, and we'll get to like the wide receivers matching up against the Notre Dame secondary that I think is good, but from the jump, like I think where you can expose Ohio State, or I think Notre Dame would at least try to expose Ohio State, is in pass protection. I'm kind of interested to see how Ohio State's tackles, they go get Josh Simmons in the transfer portal, can hold up against a Notre Dame pass rush that can get after the quarterback.
And for me, frankly, what I think the way that Ohio State can really mitigate this is by running the football pretty well. Because frankly, you look at Notre Dame's pure defensive line, it's good, but they have lost a lot of pieces over the past couple of years. Foskey, some of the interior guys who are very good players. And I do like guys like Riley Mills on the inside, and I think they've been playing good football there. But I do think, frankly, Notre Dame's pressure has come from number 8, Liafu, in his blitzing. That feels like when they're making plays and getting after teams, it's coming from those linebackers. So I think if you can just not be in obvious passing situations all game and make those linebackers essentially respect what you're doing in the run game. And Travion Henderson looks like he's back to form. I mean, he's explosive. He's running the ball really well. So that's a huge plus. But I think if you can do that as Ohio State, I think they'll be fine against this defensive line. I think this isn't like a matchup they'll be overwhelmed by.
Okay, because of Marvin Harrison Jr., someone like Travion Henderson just criminally underrated. Like what we saw Travion Henderson do as a true freshman was some of the more special like running back play from true freshman that we've seen. Banged up last year, obviously did not have kind of that explosive step that we saw as a true freshman. You take a look at what he's done the first couple games. Like Travion Henderson's back, and that is a massive added addition for Ohio State. And again, if you do have question marks about your pass protection, like being able to run the football, like you said, and kind of avoid those third and long situations where teams can kind of pin the ears back is going to be massive.
And just because they need to keep Liafu, they need to keep him honest. Because if they make him play that run game first, and not let him, he's been the guy who is disruptive in the pass rush. Again, they've lost some real high level pros. So I don't know that defensive line is just going to like 4-man rush kill Ohio State. I think Ohio State's offensive line is good enough for that. But if they let that linebacker core really get loose, that's when Notre Dame, like when they were really like dominating NC State at times that game, their linebackers took over.
And they were really good at stopping the run. And like you said, getting those third and longs, bringing those blitz packages, like that is where Notre Dame thrives. Now, another really intriguing matchup. Like Can Hart, Benjamin Warrison, like that is a really good cornerback tandem going up against the best wide receiver room that you see in the country. Marvin Harrison Jr. last 2 games, finding his stride, looking like, I mean, not that I ever doubted that Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best wide receiver in the country, but looking like the part of the last couple of years, I'm really interested in seeing this matchup. And again, the story is you're not going to stop Marvin Harrison Jr. You know that, but can you contain him? Can you limit all the big plays that he can make is going to be the question mark. And I think Notre Dame has some cornerbacks that can make it difficult for this Ohio State passing attack.
Well, because you saw, I mean, Indiana was able to limit the big play. They did a very good job, like making Kyle McCord in that offense just march down the field and beat him. And they got a couple mistakes and they took advantage of it and kind of made that game tough. When Ohio State's like impossible to stop, they're hitting 30, 40-yard plays very routinely. And you do have a Notre Dame secondary, though, that's very experienced, and I don't think they're going to beat themselves. So I do think that it will be the interesting thing can they keep up athletically? Because I don't know like what necessarily you have as like first round talent on that side of this.
Benjamin Morrison, I think, can, but I just don't know if anyone in the country can keep up athletically with what we see from.
Yeah, if you have the depth of guys to just like who can go place whatever many snaps there are on an offensive side and not you just get outrun or get beat or in some way, like if you can keep the lid on Ohio State, you can generally, I think, play them tough. But man, Ohio State did kind of get in that Western Kentucky game. They started to look back what you think they were when they're hitting like big plays very routinely. And
I saw someone
say like that, it's tough.
I saw someone say on Twitter, like the Death Star fully operational going into Notre Dame. And like there's some element of truth to that. Like that Ohio State offense looked as if like that's what we expect to see Ohio State offenses look like, and they're kind of hitting their stride now. Best way, and we say this a lot, best way to stop a really good, I said it already in some other game previews, best way to stop an elite offense, can you establish the run, keep that offense off the field? I think that's what this Notre Dame offense is going to try to do. Now, I will say this, the Ohio State defense is so criminally underrated because of just like a few games. Like they give up a few explosive plays to Michigan, and all of a sudden like Jim Knowles is on the hot seat and this Ohio State defense is not that good. Like going into that game, they were allowing like 2.5 yards per carry. Going into this game, they're allowing 2.3 yards per carry. This is a very good front seven. Notre Dame, with Audric Estimate and an elite offensive line, is going to try to run the football. And seeing if Ohio State in the front seven, which I think is one of the better groups in the country, can stop it, probably a big storyline in this game.
Well, and that'll be the thing. In Notre Dame hasn't necessarily been playing only bully ball, but like you saw
because when they went to this year, because when
they went to NC State, they did it. And when they were running the ball downhill and power and down blocking and moving guys, Audric Estimate and those running backs did get loose. That will be the interesting thing for Ohio State, who again, like I think their best guys are probably Michael Hall and Ty Hamilton. Those are the two guys who I think they want on the field mostly, but those are two. They're penetrators. They're not like necessarily those sit in the gaps and hold up doubles. That's not their game. They're not built like that. That's not their size. They're elite pass rushers and they make negative plays. But that's always the interesting point is can Notre Dame kind of line it up, get on those guys and start moving them around like you saw at times against NC State. And when you now need to respect the pass game, I do wonder if this Notre Dame offensive line can get this run game loose a little more than they did last year.
Yeah, and again, like this Ohio State, it's good. And then we talk about like stopping the run. Tommy Eichenberg, probably the best linebacker in stopping the run. Steel Chambers, like they have like 10, 12 guys who are going to be playing on Sunday on this defense. It's legit so talented.
I'm looking for them to like really establish themselves as like that top 5 defense. That I mean, you look at the talent; it's certainly there. Indiana couldn't really do anything to move it on them. Like Western Kentucky hit a couple passes and those things. But like, I am looking for them to just go put a game against a team that has the athletes and the bodies to challenge them. Like, can they go show out and be that, like play at their peak? Because if they play at their peak, when they're doing that, they're just unbelievably good. And I like what they've done in that secondary to address some of the issues and in their ability to hopefully give up big plays, adding guys like Davis and Igbinosun and some of those other.
That's my question mark here. So like one, can Notre Dame get the run game going, keep Ohio State's offense off the field? Massive storyline. The second storyline, Notre Dame, and we're not used to saying this from the last couple of years, Notre Dame's been living off the big play. Like Sam Hartman's been pushing the ball down the field. They've been getting some wide receivers loose, and Ohio State from a down-to-down basis last year, elite. What kind of bit them in the butt? giving up those big plays, maybe some breakdowns in coverage. I have confidence in the personnel. Guys like Davis and Ignanos and Denzel, like they're really, really good at that cornerback and safety room. Can you not give up the big plays and kind of have that communication? Is that big question mark? Because again, we did not say this 12 months ago when Notre Dame was playing Ohio State. But this year, if you do have some blown coverages, like this Notre Dame team and Sam Hartman can push the ball down the field and be aggressive. Can Ohio State stop those big plays? Kind of the other big storyline that we're talking about.
And that'll be because, again, I don't necessarily see this Notre Dame team as I like the wideouts, but I don't know that they have like the pure blazers on the edge to.
No, they're big bodies though.
These guys, so like there probably will. I think if Ohio State can just be sound, I don't think that just man to man they're just going to run by him and hit those plays that you saw kind of, especially against Georgia and Michigan, really kind of beat that defense.
Even like some of those, like they were just like blown coverages as opposed to like, oh, we don't have the dudes back there. All right, getting to the pick here. Ohio State, and I just want to talk about the game winner. Ohio State coming in around 3.5-point favorites on the road here. Dill, I'll kick it to you first. Game pick here?
I still think I just get the feeling Ohio State just because the talent is just like, it does feel like a notch above, and it felt like a notch above last year. I didn't think Ohio State played the cleanest football game. I mean, it is hard to factor in what having a reasonable quarterback and not just a reasonable, but a very good quarterback does to a team. Because I think when you look at those teams that don't have it, just everything else breaks down at some point in the game because you just need to be essentially error free. And that's not what Ohio or Notre Dame needs to be anymore. Like they have a quarterback who can bail them out and make some plays.
Sam Hartman was one of the best quarterbacks in the country on 3rd and long last year at Wake. Like he can sit in the pocket and sling it, and he's shown he can do it at Notre Dame too.
I just think Ohio State's like defense, I'm still like waiting for that defensive line and especially those edge guys to just turn up and take a game over because I think that's how good those two are.
I'm kind of with you, and I think this game can be close. Like I think Notre Dame has certain things that are working their way to keep it close, establishing the run. I do really think that they have the guys on the outside to potentially slow down this Ohio State passing attack. But at the end of the day, and I think this talking point is missed out on a lot of people. Like Georgia has a super talented roster. Alabama has a super talented roster. Ohio State is right in that echelon. Like they've recruited like some of the the best team in the country. They might have the #1 class in 2024. They consistently have stacked those classes. You look at the team, the 1 through 11 on offense, the 1 through 11 on defense, chock full with NFL talent. I think that can kind of get them over the hump in some of these tighter games. Again, Notre Dame, I think, has the bones to give Ohio State some trouble. But at the end of the day, I'm going to trust the Ohio State talent. They're going to go on the road and get it done. And again, I don't think we've seen this Ohio State at their peak yet. And if you see it on Notre Dame, it's really hard to see Notre Dame coming out with this. But again, Notre Dame certainly has the elements to make it happen. Very excited for this game. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Let us know in the comments section how you guys are feeling about this one. Appreciate all the support you guys have shown the boys. And we'll talk to y'all later.